Hi, this is Gifty from Baller Mom, and today I will be having my next Baller Mom feature with Stephen Korn from RWI Basketball. Thank you for those who are joining and those that will be watching a little bit later. I'm going to be waiting for Stephen to join us, and hopefully everybody has been having a really good year so far. We're already in March, and I'm excited for what's ahead for the year. And as long as we pass through 2020, again, I don't think there's anything to be ungrateful for. Um, Today's discussion is going to be very unique to anyone that is has gone through a lot through COVID, especially for the athletes and our families that have been looking for how they can find a new club or how they can connect us with their club. And RWI is one of the leagues here in Canada that has been doing tremendous work throughout the pandemic, throughout our lockdown, and he's going to be here to be able to share some insights and hopefully can help us all once we are out of this lockdown and get back into the court. So let me invite um, Stephen and we will get started. And thank you hi, Mike. Hi, thanks for joining. Way back at you. So let's wait until Steve. Hi, Stephen. How are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you? How are you?
Volume up. Hopefully. Yes, there we go.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for having me.
Problem. How's your day going or week going so far?
Honestly, it's been great. It's been great. We're back at the academy. We're back at the academy. We've been there for about a couple weeks now. So to be back on the basketball court, it's great. It's honestly great. And after a lockdown for 10 weeks or whatever long it's been, it's fun to it gives me a different sense of enjoyment to be able to be back on the court. So I'm
I
good.
agree.
How
I
are you
agree.
doing?
I stopped counting the days, honestly.
You and I both. You and I both. It felt too long. 10 weeks felt like 10 years, but that's a whole other story for another day.
It felt like eternity for real. Like it was just in the middle of nowhere. Like it's weird. And I know with your league going back and starting to do actual practices, it's a nice welcome refresh to be able to sort of have small little bit of normalcy to,
Exactly.
just staying home and dribbling inside the house or trying to go to an open court somewhere in the school outside. It's just not the same. I
I
know.
agree. I agree. I agree. So hopefully, hopefully it's not just the coaches in the organization that are appreciating it. Hopefully that the coaches, and the players actually appreciate it more as well to be able to be back on the court and to be able to enjoy, shooting on a hoop and dribbling a basketball and hearing the sounds of hardwood. So hopefully they all enjoy that more now.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to the screaming and the yelling from a purity perspective, from lines and calling shots and small little trash talk, but not too much. Anything, just that excitement of the hustle and bustle. I'm
I
foreseeing the future of going back, into it. And I guess we didn't realize how much we enjoyed it until it was sort of taken away from us.
agree. I agree. I agree. So hopefully soon it'll all be back to normalcy.
Yeah, whatever normal is right now. That word
Exactly.
has changed over the years and we don't even know what it is anymore. Um,
Exactly.
but I wanted to start with you to introduce yourself, to tell everyone that's joining or be watching a little bit later, who you are and what does RW basketball represent.
So, for me personally, who I am, my name is Steven. I'm the co-founder of RWI Basketball. We've been around in business. Well, we've been around for 5 years as teams. We started off with a training program back in 2012, just to get kids, just train and learn the right way, the proper fundamentals.
Mm-hmm.
But over the last 5 years, we've drastically taken a change and taken a leap of faith and decided to say, you know what, we're going to put some teams together and here we are. That's what RWI
Yeah.
stands for.
Yep. Okay, so what does the RW? I know it's an
Oh,
initial. So what does it stand for?
run with it. RWI stands for run with it.
Run with it. Okay.
Yeah.
And I also noticed that you have a team or a company logo, which is Trust the Process. So I want to know from the reason coming, like the reason deciding with that process, especially we've been in lockdown, when process has stopped. How did
Mhm.
you come up with it, and what is your way of keeping that process going, especially for what I think in a couple of weeks will be a year since we've been locked down?
Yeah, yeah. Honestly, it's that's not an easy. That's a great question, first of all, but it's not an easy answer. Especially for me in particular, like if I was 15, 16, 14 years old going through a pandemic right now, or even 18, kind of being confused of what to do, what to think about, moving forward, and not being unaware of what my goal is going to be past my grade 12 year or anything like that. I don't know where I
Mhm.
would be. I don't know what my life would be, what it would entail. I'm not really too sure, where I would be at. But believe in the process is more so just because it takes a lot of time to be able to. You got to put a lot of work in order to be able to get to succeed and get to your goals. So
Yeah.
sometimes people and kids in general and they'll do something for 1 or 2 days and not see a lot of process, but then be like, so feel like somebody's failing them or feel like they're not getting to where they want to get to in a couple of days. So this is
Hmm.
more so, the believe in the process kind of more so to say, listen, it's gonna happen. Just take some more time. Everything will be okay. Just believe in yourself, believe in everything that's happening, and pun intended, believe in the process.
Exactly. Well, you know what? This is why I appreciate that because, like you said, we everyone's quick to want to get a quick result, but not everything doesn't happen with that quick result. And sometimes, even
Hmm.
if you get that result, it may not be enjoyable as much as you work hard through that process to get to wherever the next step is. So I really love that whole phrase, that whole model, and what your league stands for. Now a
Thank
little
you.
bit about yourself again. Did you play ball? Anything
Yeah,
with
I
team? Did you
Yeah, I
take?
did. I played junior college basketball. For my first year, I went to Polk State College, which is in Florida, the Division I JUCO. I was a redshirt there my first year. My second year, before I was actually about to go back, I actually got into a car accident. I got hit by a car on the left side, so I
Wow.
unfortunately wasn't able to continue that year. But however, I did end up going to Jamestown Community College, which is in Olean, New York. So it was a Division II junior college. From there, I was fortunate enough to be able to transition to Aldous and Broaddus University, and I played a year over there, which is a Division II university.
Wow. You've traveled.
I had to do what I had to do.
Like you here, which is awesome. So,
Exactly.
with that, when you came back, and I guess your basketball as an athlete career finished, but you wanted to continue on the business aspect of it. Many of the students or the athletes, right now everybody would just want to play ball, want to play ball, want to play ball. But if that doesn't sort of always go the way, like you said, there's different avenues that it can sort of turn you around on it. How did you come up or decided to say, you know what, with all my talent and everything I have, I'm still willing to give back and help the next level of athletes also, start their journey or start their process. How did you go about that?
So, funny enough, what actually happened, my story is a little different because of the fact that I wasn't, a top recruit out of high school. I wasn't a top player while I was in university or college. I wasn't like that guy that was recruited all over the place. I didn't have Division I university looks. I didn't have pro coaches coming to watch me play. I didn't have any of that. But I wanted to be able to give a platform to kids to be able to help them get that, to be able to help them to succeed in whatever it was. And
Yeah,
sometimes we typically hear the grassroots, the CIA bounces, the Northern Kings, the Canada Elites, the bigger time teams that get that happening. But I want to be more so to be able to help these kids be able to get where they wanted to get to in any way possible.
yeah,
So for me, it's big for me and very important for me actually to be able to get as many kids to the next level as possible. If I
mhm,
also see you putting in the work and putting in the progress. So a lot of it kind of has to come down to the fact that um, when I didn't have the same opportunity that a lot of people have, a lot of kids have of today. I want them to be able to achieve all of their goals, whether it's Division I, whether it's Division II, whether it's Division III, whatever it might be, whether it's going to
yeah,
play NBA basketball, whatever your goal is. But
yeah,
but the biggest thing that I'm trying to teach all these kids, and I want them to understand, is that academics is very important, and to be able to get a full ride scholarship is so rare, especially being a Canadian basketball player. It's very rare. So
Yes.
to be able to get anybody out of our program that can get a full ride scholarship or get anything along those lines, university wise,
Hmm.
that's the reason why I want to give back and I want to get involved in this.
Yeah, and I think honestly, your company organization is doing pretty good. Everything that you said, I can attest to it. That you and Sai, who's not here with us because he's busy training
Yeah.
others as we speak right now,
Shout out Sai. Shout
pretty.
out Sai.
Yeah, shout out to Sai. Are pretty focused on the athletes, and I would say, it's kudos to you. And as I said earlier, especially during the lockdown, a lot of the different leagues, kind of went a little bit quiet for various reasons. But one thing that we noticed from you is that your team or your organization was very persistent and consistent, whether it be Zoom workout or having somebody else come in and do the hosted, engaging with parents. So I just wanted to know from your side of it, like what is it that drives you to make sure that it's not just only the athlete? Because from a parent perspective, you obviously engage the moms and the dads as part of it to make it a whole. So because you're both co-partners, what also do you was how should I say this? Will tell other parents or other athletes where they feel like theirs may have dropped the ball or they may not have that information to say, you know what, come to our side here. This is what we're doing. This is what we're helping you to be able to, you know, keep active until
Hmm.
the normal process come in. So what would your advice be to that person who's sitting on the fence wondering, I don't want to be inside the gym, but I don't have space inside my house, but I still want to play ball.
Hmm.
What's the way that you can tell, whether it's an athlete or a parent, to say, you know what, for our WBR perspective, this is what we've done and this is how we're surviving.
Honestly, there's no in my opinion that I don't think there's any real right or wrong answer for this. I Because obviously the pandemic is real, COVID is real. So to be able to advise anybody in any way could be wrong or could be right. It's not
Right.
really, it's not really a very simple answer. But what I will say is that just find somebody that you trust. Find somebody that you trust to be able to go online with, to be able to go and get a workout in, to be able to talk to. Because there's a lot of people out there right now, a lot of coaches out there right now that are willing to listen. There's a lot of coaches out there, especially within the RWI organization as well, that if you pick up the phone to call us, we're here. We're here to listen to you. We want to help you because we all go through it, right? And I haven't really spoken about this a lot, but I've suffered from depression myself. So when I suffer from depression, a lot of things for me is that I want to be able to talk to somebody. And for me, what even not even just talking about my depression, just talking in general. So
Yeah.
so in that aspect, like the mental health aspect of it, it's big because I personally feel like when somebody's there with you and going through something they can relate to, it's a lot easier, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So in that aspect, all I'd really say is more so just find somebody you could trust, find somebody you could talk to, find somebody that you're able to relate to, and that aspect, if it's RWI, if it's Canada Lead, if it's any program, whatever program it is,
Yeah.
find somebody that you can trust, especially during the pandemic.
Okay, that's pretty good advice there. And with that, I'll lead to my next question, which is what are some of the things that parents should look for, especially when you're beginning to look for a league or a club or a team, like something that maybe not even if it's not for your particular organization, but
Mhm.
just starting fresh and say, you know what, these are some of the key points that you might want to look at, so you don't easily just say yes or say no and put your money in there or put your effort in there, because once everything is lifted and we go back into what we call the game normalcy, it's going to be different. It's going to
Yeah,
be a little different. It's not the way it was. So for
right.
someone who's just watching and say, you know what, my son, did play a little bit of house league and now we want them to get into that. What are some of the things that you should be aware of in terms of the direct level compared to, just bouncing ball on the street or across the road? And that will lead them to come and join with your organization.
So you're talking about RWI or just generally like any
Well,
club?
both. So from
Okay.
RWF perspective, so someone, they're going through all these various Instagram pages and Facebook, and they're looking to say, okay, I want my son or I want my daughter to join the league. We've been down for all these years, but you're really good at it. How do
Hmm.
I go about doing this? So something that you would say before you sign any club, before you join any league. These are two or three things that you might want to be considerate of. It doesn't matter if your son or daughter can really bounce it, but from an athlete perspective, consider this. From a parent perspective, consider this because you've been in it for so long. I'm sure you've seen different kinds of personalities come
Hmm.
across.
Hmm.
Um, and just based on what you look for to make sure that it works. So something that you can also tell the moms and the dads and the athletes to be
Hmm.
mindful of. So they're joining the league that they know it's going to be both beneficial to both.
So what I'll say about RWI in particular, because I can openly speak on RWI. One thing that we preach a lot is family, right? And you'll see it within the players. We always end up every practice with Kings on three, family on six all the time, and it's very typical for a lot of organizations to say that. But we
Mm-hmm.
we 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 take a lot of pride in becoming a family, whether it's from the parents, whether it's from the players, whether it's from the coaches, stuff like that. Just because of the fact that you know, yes, some people have brothers and sisters and stuff like that, but at the same time, unity is key. Unity is huge to be able to teach any kid of any level, any age. And even for us as coaches, sometimes we've learned. Well, I'm not going to speak for all my coaches, but for me in particular, I've learned so much from the first year that I started till now. And the first year that I started coaching basketball. I was coached by a lot of strict coaches that yelled a lot, swore a lot, and it was very old school. Where
Yes.
now you're starting to learn that it's a lot of new schools happening now. So you can
Mm-hmm.
still yell, but you can't always yell the way that you were yelled at, 10 years ago, right?
Right.
So because a lot of kids now are delicate, they're very sensitive. It's how the generation has changed. So for me, what we say, like when we say, kids on three, family on six, we genuinely mean that family part. So when you're coming into RWI, you're not coming into just an organization to play basketball and teach you basketball. We're going to teach
Mm-hmm.
you, the fundamentals of being a good brother or sister. We're going to teach you the fundamentals of also playing basketball, and we're also going to teach you respect particles as well. In our academy right now, and I think Sai's on live watching this right now, he can attest to this. We actually make our kid every morning that they see a coach, whether it's Coach Elvis, whether it's Coach Manny or Coach Harja, they have to present themselves and say good morning, coach, etc., or dot dot dot, whatever case is, right? So if
Good.
they
Good.
if they don't do that, that to us is a disrespecting. That to us means we haven't done our job as coaches and as mentors to be able to help you. So like I said, when you come into RWI, you're coming into RWI as a family. For other groups, what I would say is more so find that same thing, that find what you want. You know what I mean? Find what you want from out of that club. If that club has a very successful rate of getting, you know, uh, majority of their players to another school or to moving past, the high school element of it, then yeah, that's a good organization to look into. But you also need to do your research as to, how many kids have they burned? How many teams do they have? How many coaches do they have to coach these different teams? What kind of coaches are coaching these teams? Are they bringing in parents? Are they bringing in people that don't understand the game? And is a
Yeah.
parent coaching a kid? Like, you know what I mean? There's a lot of politics to the
Yeah.
game as well. So as much as there's a lot of great organizations out there, there's also a lot of organizations out there that don't always do it the way that, you know, political or whatever case might be. In my opinion, in my honest opinion, right? And I
Yeah.
and I'm not one to judge anybody. Everybody's doing their own thing. Everybody's running the organization however they're running the organization. But for me, how I would advise a kid would be just find your niche, find whatever works for you, and just you do your research on that.
Good, good. So research for sure. And like you said earlier before, you're approachable, whether it be by email, phone, or social media, whichever format, which makes
Right.
it a lot easier. So I will, recommend that as well to any parents that, at that early stage looking and not sure. Ask questions and assess, I guess, what makes what fits for you and your family, whether it be with RWI or anybody else. And I think you
Exactly.
touch a good point about, the yelling aspect of it. I mean, me as a parent, yes, we yell. It's in our
Hmm.
nature. It comes automatically. So one thing we also notice from the sideline, is I think the differences between the old school coaching versus the new school way of coaching. And I think it's good that you're saying that you're mindful of the athlete, that they are human beings. Even if you're 12 years old, they're still human beings. They have
Hmm.
feelings. So there's a way to sort of, get your point across to them during a heated game if you're making a mistake or anything like that, which I think is awesome. But it's also a different way of saying it to them and correcting them when an error is made. So I
Exactly.
would definitely say that is like one of the key points for us, especially from as a parent's perspective, the connection between coach and athlete and the relationship and the
For
conversation
sure.
that comes with it. But from your league organization, because I want you to put a lot of focus on it and make sure that, oh, sorry, hold on. Somebody just put in the comment here. I like when coaches yell. It gives me a break as a parent from yelling for a while.
Of course you do, Graham. Of course you do.
Yes, yes. You know what? There are times that, yes, we will all be like, yep, you're right. And don't look at me when you're listening. That's your responsibility. You are in charge of that 2 3 hour session that they're there, which it comes with it. And sometimes we all need that little jolt to get up
Right,
and say, "Hey, focus, do what you're doing. What's going on? Where's the ball? Whatever it is that you're
right.
supposed to be doing." So I agree with you, Kathy. I don't think it's right or wrong. It's just the delivery and the timing of it sometimes needs to be worked out. But as you said, your organization is very mindful of that, and you do take into consideration.
We're trying to be. We're not perfect, but we're trying to be. We're trying to be.
That's all you can do, honestly. Because none of us is really perfect. That's all you can do, and I guess it's a lot of learning curves along the way too. So for
Exactly.
sure. And what age group do you start from, and where do you end?
So we start, I think right now our youngest team is U12, grade six, I think we're the youngest team. And
Okay.
we go all the way to U19 right now. So we have a great, like I said, U12 all the way to U19. And this is actually the youngest age group that we've ever had. So the U12 has been yeah, this is the first time. Actually, no, you know what? I don't really remember the first time we had a U12 team, but I think this is our first U12 team. I could be wrong though. I
Okay.
could be wrong.
And why I asked because um, there's always this hype going on about the youngest of this level, the youngest of this division, the youngest of this thing. Like there's always these titles and accolades that gives out. So I ask everyone that I ever talk to, like, how early do you think it is to actually specialize or have a student or an athlete specialize in a specific field of sport? Like, is it ever too early, or is it never too early, or is it specific time? Like from your perspective, because you played before
Mhm.
for a while, you're an athlete yourself as well as a coach. How when did you realize that you need to, put more emphasis on it and specialize in basketball?
You know what's funny is that I was just talking to Sai about this the other day, like last week. I think we were at the academy, and I was talking to him, and I said, Sai, as much work as I put in, as much time as I put in, I didn't study the game enough. I never studied the game properly, where I'd be going home to watch film, watch myself play, watch the NCAA, watch the NBA, whatever case might be. I never understood the game properly until I became a coach. And like even
Okay.
and like even when I got to university and college, I was learning things. Yeah, I was learning things and stuff, but like you don't really un the cliche answer is you don't know what you know. You don't know what you don't know, right? So if
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So like with that, it's kind of like I never studied the game enough when I was younger. And as I was getting older and I became a coach, I looked at myself in the mirror one day and I'm like, wow, Steven, if you knew this when you were, 10 years ago, who knows where you would have been? I'm not saying I would have been in the NBA or playing pro basketball. I don't think I would. I don't think I really want to be honest with you. But like, I, who knows, right? Who knows what I could have accomplished while I was playing college and university? And that's the one thing that I think a lot of kids are lacking and a lot of people are lacking is that it's film sessions. They're not watching themselves play with an open mind and they're not watching
Mhm.
themselves play, and correct themselves on the go. Where they're just kind of
Mhm.
watching themselves play as a player, which is fine. They watch themselves play as a player, and they're like, "Oh my God, I made that nice, beautiful pass," or "I had that nice scoop reverse layup," or you know what I mean? I had that Euro step, right? So they're only looking at that on the positive aspect of it, but they never like to, construct themselves properly to be able to learn and then bring to the next game. That's in my opinion.
Mhm.
And one
Mhm.
thing one thing that I one time that I learned this actually was with my grade 11 team when we first started. We started watching film, and there's a lot of times this kind of goes back to what I said in the beginning about how I would be yelling at my teammates a lot or yelling at my players a lot, and I yell at them while I was on the court, and or they'd be on the court, I'm on the sideline, and yelling. But then when it came to film session, and I'm showing them, they're like, "Oh, coach, you're actually right. Like my fault."
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then now there's a different dialect at that point because it's like now I'm able to show you what you're doing wrong instead of me just yelling you on the court. So now when I yell you on the court, there's a different, it's a different mindset at that point. And I'm again, like I said earlier, I'm not perfect when it comes to me yelling, but that's what I would suggest a lot of kids to learn or a lot of kids to do is study game tape, study game film, and really watch themselves or watch other people do certain moves.
Okay, and not just wait for the highlight reels, which is well edited, to only show the good stuff, or unless you're
Correct.
the one being dunked on. Right?
Correct.
So yeah, so for those kids that are watching or that will be watching later, as Coach Steven said, study the game, be a student of the game, and it's not just about you playing, but also others playing as well. Now, from a parent's perspective, I'm one of those
Mhm.
parents. I always have my phone recorded, everything, everything, like just
That's good.
ready to record. And the only reason I do it just so that I don't have to yell because when I record, I can't yell at the same time. If I, it's just so it's either one or the other. Um, what would you say also to some of the parents to help them check themselves internally and say, you know what, yes, my child does have the skills, but to be honest with it in terms of their development. So,
Cool.
I think certain teams have A's and B's or C's and D's, and everybody thinks their kid is number one, but meanwhile, the levels and the talent may not be the same. So how do you respond to those particular concerns in terms of how you assess the player and say, based on this, the athlete's levels and skills, we're going to have them in this division versus this. How do you go about that?
Whew.
Not easy question today.
That's a great question. I think it really just comes down to look around you. You know what I mean? Just look around what you have and what your kids playing in. And honestly, if a lot of kids, and I've had this as well, where we've had a gold and a white team. We've had a gold and a white team, and they're looking at the gold team and saying, "Oh, this team's stronger than the white team." But then the reality is, you're playing, out of 32 minutes, you're playing 27 minutes in that game. Who cares
Yeah,
what team you're playing on? Right.
yeah,
So one thing I would tell parents all the time is look around you, because if you see 10 other kids that are playing at a higher level than your son, whether you might think that those 10 players are better than your kid or not, clearly the
hmm,
coach sees something in those 10 players that they don't see in your son or daughter. Right. So in that aspect, like what I would suggest two things to parents. One, look around. And if
yeah,
your kid is getting killed on a regular basis in terms of on the court where they're not doing well defensively, they're getting blown by, they're not making their shots, they're doing everything wrong. You come to practice, watch them in practice, they're not keeping up, so they shouldn't be on that team. But the coach obviously liked him enough to give him an opportunity. Then that you got to be real with yourself as well. That's the first thing I would say. Second thing I would say is, if a coach comes to you and recommends a different opportunity in terms of, like I said earlier, a gold and a red team, right?
hmm,
And if the gold team is a quote unquote better team, but the red team is going to give you more opportunity to excel and to thrive and not play at a house league level, take that.
yeah,
And I give the comparison a lot to NBA G League or D League or whatever they're called, but the NBA and the G League, right? So
yeah,
Corey Joseph is a perfect example of it. He sat on the sideline for San Antonio, didn't play a lick, didn't play at all. And then he went to Greg Popovich, said, "I want to go play in the G League," right? Greg Popovich was confused, was shocked. He came up, or he went down, played for a little bit, got his feet under him, right? And then came back up. And now he's an NBA champion. He's getting money. He's a prolific actual basketball player. He's a significant play a role on Sacramento. He's been playing a role in Toronto and every team he's been on. Now,
yeah,
it also kind of gives the same regimen of the Raptors 905 team as well. You had Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, Jakob Poto,
oh,
Delon, right? All those guys that went down there, and now they come up and look at them now. You know what I mean? That's kind of one advice I'll definitely give to parents is, don't always look at everything as a demotion. Look at it as an opportunity. Look at it as you're still playing the game of basketball. You're looking to improve. And to be honest with
mhm,
you, at grade 6 or grade 7 or grade 8 or grade 9, It doesn't matter. Nobody's looking at you sitting on the bench. Everybody's looking at
Yeah.
you playing on the court, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I would recommend to parents is don't take everything as a demotion, don't take everything personally, and just let your kid play.
Let them
Let them be free.
play. Let
Let
them
them play.
play. And if they have to sit for a bit, that's fine too.
Right.
I think the issue sometimes becomes where parents feel that they know the game better, so it becomes a little bit of argument or back and forth
Mm-hmm.
between coaches and parents. And from my perspective, I always say, hey, I'm not the one on the court. I'm on the side just recording and yelling. You're the one here doing all the hard work. So for you to go there and bounce or kick the ball, whatever you're doing, I give all the respect to the coaches and the coaching staff to be able to make the right decision. But
Mm-hmm.
I also welcome when coaches also like get feedbacks in terms of different views from the parents' perspective. But as we said earlier, it's all in the delivery. So if I'm coming at you like, oh, why don't you play them? I don't want him in blue team. He should be in gold team. He's number one in when he was in blue.
Yeah.
Okay, but that was great too. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So
Yeah.
you make a good point. Like just let them play. Be honest with yourselves, and they're young. They're young. I guess once they get to the high school level, where they're starting to look into beyond high school, and they want to get that specialization aspect of it going in there. What are some of the support that your team or you do provide them and say, okay, now you're in grade 10, you're grade 11, these things are coming to look at you and, this is what you need to do to be able to sustain, especially if you want to build a career within this field. What
Exactly.
what what does RWI provide or support or even recommend?
For like past high school, or sorry, you cut out a little bit there.
Um, the from like say you're no longer in grade 6, you're no longer grade 7, you're in the high school level now. We understand that from early stages on, we work with the coaches, they got to play a lot. But now they're in that high school, they're about to exit. They're in that stage now. And we want to look beyond the high school level, look into college or university and trying to guide them to make the right decision so that they still have a sport aspect with them, but the academic
Hmm.
is also. So from
Yeah.
your legal perspective, like what are some of the support that you provide or what are some of the advice that you would recommend to someone who's in that midst of the stage right now, especially with COVID? A lot of kids didn't get to
Hmm.
play or shine as they wanted to.
Yeah.
And so they're not sure which way to go. So from knowing from your experience, what would you, say, even if you don't get to play basketball right away after graduating high school, like there's other opportunities. So from your experience or advice to athletes or parents, what could they be thinking of so that they're a good peace of mind as they proceed from beyond grade 11 and onwards?
So the first thing I'm gonna say is this has been the hardest year in terms of trying to push my kids. This has been the hardest year in terms of trying to push the high school kids to get an opportunity to get any type of scholarship, to get any type of looks. COVID
Yeah,
has not done us any justice or the kids any justice.
no.
And the thing is that my grade 12s and grade 11s from last year, so my O3s, my O2s, they weren't going to get ready to play until March, pretty much. Legitimately 2 days before the pandemic hit and we had to shut down, that's when we were going to play our first tournament. So they
Wow.
have no film from last year unless they got film from high school, and not many coaches really want to see grade 11 film, right? So
No.
that's the first thing I'm going to say is a lot of it is this has been a very strange and interesting year for recruitment.
Mhm.
But what I'm going to say more so is that you gotta understand what you want. And I've had a lot of kids come to me in grade 10 and grade 11. They say, Coach, I want to go play university basketball. Okay, what university do you want to play at? Oh,
Yeah.
I want to play Division One. Okay, what university do you want to play at? A lot, a lot,
Yeah.
a lot of them don't even know what school they want to go to or what they're trying to strive for. All they know is that they want to get the glory. They want to play in front of the cameras. They want to play they want to play against Duke and Kentucky and North Carolina, and they want to play. They want the big glory. But they don't
Mhm.
understand the fact that academics, they have core courses. You have to get a certain amount of courses in order for you to be eligible to pass the NCAA clearinghouse. They don't understand that the recruitment process starts in grade 9 for a lot of kids as well. And when you're ranked at a certain age, you get noticed just by your name alone. So a lot of
Mhm.
kids don't understand that. Some kids, obviously, unless like Russell Westbrook, for instance, had a very different story. Even Anthony Davis as well, very different story. But
Yeah.
typically, how often do we see those stories happen? right?
One in a million.
One in a million, right? So when those stories kind of come out, it's like, hey, you got to understand what you want to do in terms of what you want to do past basketball, because basketball is only going to be we gotta go into university and college thinking, unless you're like a Zion Williamson, or you're a freak of nature like a RJ Barrett, or somebody like that that knows they're going to be
Mhm.
going to the NBA. Okay, cool. Then maybe you don't have to really think about what's after basketball. But at the end of the day,
Yeah.
though, at the end of the day, you still got to think in your mind you're going to be going to school for 4 years. When you go to
Yep.
school for 4 years, what am I going to study? Because the school only wants you in the school for 4 years. Even if after your sophomore year you say, you know what, I no longer want to take business finance. I now want to take marketing management. I don't know, whatever, marketing management, or whatever case is. Now you got to switch your whole course load. You got to switch everything around to be able to graduate, but they're only paying for 2 more years.
That's it.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's I would definitely advise a lot of people to first of all talk to your social advisor, or your social worker, or whatever the person is at your high
Guidance
school.
counselor.
Guidance counselor. There you go. You talk to your guidance counselor as to,
Yep.
figure out what you need in order to graduate and pass the clearinghouse from grade 9. That's the first thing first recommendation I would take. Second thing, go for a fifth year. There is nothing wrong with staying back for one more year. There is nothing wrong with that. Not even on an athletic standpoint. Because if you do what you're supposed to do from grade 9 till grade 12, you won't have to worry for your fifth year. It's more so
Mhm.
on the fact, for multiple reasons. One, because now you can figure out what you want to do. Two, for, let's say you have a bad grade in English, you have a 60 in English, you want to get it to an 80. Okay, cool. I can stay back for that year, and I can upgrade my marks. And three, it can get you more opportunities athletically. So
Yep.
my advice past grade 12 is stay back for one more year. Go into high school if you're going to be an athlete, to think, again. Obviously, there's the rare breed of, like, that might have to stay after, or go after one year, or after
Yeah.
the grade 12 year. But you know, stay back for one more year, get what you got to get done, accomplish what you got to accomplish, but get advised properly from grade 9. That's the biggest thing.
Exactly. Exactly. And I think even for the advice, parents definitely need to be involved with it. You can't just take someone's word for it. You have to know how your child is academically from the time they even get into high school, to
Hmm.
see where their levels are. If they want to get into, say, Duke, you can't be taking just regular general courses with a 60 percentage. You need a
Hmm.
high 90 at an
Yeah,
advanced level in order to get
yeah.
there, right?
Yeah, and
Because
and and and, sorry to cut you off as well, but the one thing for me, I actually learned the hard way. I was supposed to go to a prep school my fifth year called Westwind Prep in Phoenix, Arizona. The unfortunate part was, though, is that I didn't have my core courses. So because I didn't have my core courses, they looked at me and said, "Well, you're not even going to graduate and go to where you're supposed to be going to anyways. So there's no point in you coming here." So when I
wow,
heard that, I was like, okay, well, damn, I just learned something. And that was in my grade 12 year, graduated, about to go for my fifth year at Westwind
wow,
Prep.
wow.
So yeah, so it was a tough experience to be able to listen to this, which is why, again, this goes back to what I said earlier. I want to give kids the opportunity to learn what I didn't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And these are pretty good opportunities because sometimes someone that has gone through that process, it's easier to speak from that experience. And say, this is the decision that I made. It didn't work out. This is the one that I could have made that worked out. Let's see what works best for you. And I think
I
what you're
agree.
doing is really commendable for that aspect of it.
Thank you.
But when it comes to also um, from an educator perspective, because you're not just a coach, you're also helping them. And I noticed that you do have the day program that goes on to help
Yeah.
them. So, and we did touch a bit on the academic side of it too. And I think a lot of, I guess, the fluff around that comes out is that if, in order to get to the MBA, it's like a big jump. No, it's not a big jump. It's a lot of small little steps that makes, puts together. And like we said, one in
Hmm.
a million, two in a million. So it's not so bad if you don't make it to the MBA. But you did mention that, you did have experience in other aspects of, I believe, that can also help alleviate student athletes' career in any aspect of it. So from your perspectives, whether it's Division 1, Division 2, or Division 3, what other programs are out there? What other opportunities are out there that students and parents should be mindful of. It's not all just about getting to the NCAA and then jump into, let's say, NBA, but there's other avenues, whether it be Canada or across the world. What are some of the things that we parents should think of or look at and say, the path is not always just to the NBA or WNBA?
Right. So that's a great question because honestly, I love this topic.
I think my questions are going to get easier as we go now, okay?
No, that's a great question though because I feel like there's two answers I have for you right now. The first answer is basketball can give you so many opportunities, right? Sports in general can give you so many opportunities, and for I'll use Chris Eggy as an example, right? Chris Eggy, very, very, very intelligent man, had a full ride scholarship to Harvard, didn't really have the points or the basketball. He had a lot of good game, but he didn't have the accolades or the awards to show for it, right? But what he had to show for it was the fact that he had a full ride scholarship. He finished Harvard University he finished Harvard University, which isn't easy to do. It's
Yeah.
not easy, it's not easy. On top of that, he also, was able to meet new people to get to the world he's in now, right? So being an author, doing stuff that he's able to do now and that he enjoys doing, who knows if he would be in the same situation as he would be if he didn't have basketball. Now that
Yeah.
I kind of bring that back to myself as well. If I didn't play basketball, would I be running RWI basketball right now? Would I myself be running RWI basketball right now? Probably not, right?
Yeah.
Would I have the same friends that I have? Would I have the same life that I have? Would I meet the same people that I met? What I mean? Like I just started Devontae and myself started a talk show, not too long ago, specifically for the youth called Talk Your Exposure. And the
I
point of
saw
that,
it.
the point, right? The point of the talk show is to give kids a different light. So I don't even think I would be able to do what I wanted to do, which is this podcast, if it wasn't for basketball. Because I wouldn't want to do a
Mhm.
hockey podcast. I wouldn't want to do a golf podcast. I wouldn't want to do any podcast like that. Right. So the
Yeah.
opportunities that basketball and sports can present to you is very, very, very unlimited. Especially
Yeah.
when you have good connection with people and you meet people along the lines that could help you. So
Exactly.
not only can it put you through school, but it can also really put you in a good position for life.
For sure. For sure. And you know what? Um, I always say that the ball doesn't always bounce forever, but it may not be me, it may not be you, the student or the athlete bouncing it, but it could be you could be encouraging others around you to keep it bouncing, which I think is also tremendous. And one of the reasons why I also wanted to make sure I reached out to you was that yes, you stopped playing, but there's a business aspect to it. There's so many different avenues to it. There are
Hmm.
other athletes right now and all across the world that have written books, have your own productions, they're sing,
Hmm.
there's different talents associated with it. So being an athlete is just not the only thing that I guess makes who you are. So the fact that you give this opportunity to teach those within your program that get your grades up, focus on yourself, be healthy, do all of that. And once you finish the 4 years, you come out playing the game you love, you have the academics, you have a degree, you have a diploma. Now you can take
Hmm.
the next step. So I think that's one of the very good things that you continue to provide and share. And from a parent's perspective, I think it's also good that it's open and it's not closed and it's not just huddle like just come to my league and I'll control you and then shove you off somewhere. Recommend, both you and I have been very helpful with, especially with your social media in terms of providing, clarity of what you're doing throughout the day to be, anyone that's following you.
Hmm.
So one thing I also wanted to touch base on was once we're out of this and we start games, where does your league go and play? What do you do? Like, if even if I don't have anyone in your team or I don't want to, I'm not part of your league, but I want to come and see how does RWI run their game? How do they run their tournament? Like, where do you typically? Hopefully, every gym that we were using before comes back. And I know there's
Yeah.
a lot popping up now, but typically, what is your region that you cover? In case somebody's within the Toronto area or moving into Toronto area and want to find more information.
Right. So typically, we are a York region based team. We typically run out of the Maple, Vaughan, and Thornhill area.
Mhm.
Obviously, right now, due to circumstances, we're pretty much in Brampton, I would say. We're all over the place right now because there's no high school permits. But
Yeah.
typically we are in York region. We are a York region based team. We like to thrive and say that. Obviously with the pandemic and everything, we have been moving our practice to game six as well as also skills with Skills Academy as well, or Skills Lab,
Mhm.
I should say, with Charlene and Grant.
Yeah.
So we've been able to rent out their facilities for right now. We've been able to do stuff out of there for at the moment. Our tournaments are usually at Maple High School, Stephen Lewis, Vaughn, or sorry, not Vaughn anymore. They're secondary school. Westmount,
Yeah. Which is, yeah.
right, right. Schools like that. But our major tournament is always Pink City Classic, who is after the big thing behind that tournament too, and that's another topic for another day. But I will touch up on it real quick. Biggest thing behind that is for Sai's mom, for the late Roxanne, and honestly, it's one of the biggest tournaments that we've had, and we really take a lot of pride in making sure that tournament runs very smooth. So that typically where that tournament is being held is Seneca or Humber or at a couple whatever gym we can kind of find to kind of capacitate three games going on at one time. But
Hmm.
that's typically where we are.
Okay, that's really good. So I'm definitely looking forward to this lockdown over with and all. And I know you were very social aspect of it too in trying to get the band lifted. You had like a petition,
Hmm.
created. I think we were chatting about. I said, I would definitely support it if there's any way we can talk to our local government to say, hey, can you open up the gym? Because honestly, not to take away the seriousness of the
The
COVID and
pandemic, yeah.
everything like that. But I found it very helpful when I'm active, and I see that it's also helpful when the kids are active. So how did it particularly go? What was your reason behind it, and what was the turnout for you?
Right now we have 650 signatures. It's not I haven't really been as active on it as I should be, to be honest with you. But uh, the whole reason why it came about is because I've had a few kids kind of message me, and
Mhm.
they were lost. They were like, Coach, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. Like I'm in grade 12 right now. I'm in my fifth year. I'm in my last year. What's happening next year? Like I need to get in the gym. Like I feel anxious. I have a lot of anxiety. Like I'm confused, a lot of uncertainty, right?
Yep.
And when you kind of hear that from kids that you've known for 3, 4 years, it doesn't sit well with me in particular, right? So
Mhm.
when I heard that, and it wasn't just from one kid, it was a few kids. Then I heard it from parents of the kids. I kind of went to I heard it from my myself even. I heard it from my peers. I heard it from some people around me. And I'm like, you know what? This is getting out of hand. And I'm looking at the news. I'm seeing games happen in the States. I'm seeing games happen around the world, but not
Yeah.
here in Ontario. So when I kind of saw that, I was like, you know what? Something needs to be done. Something needs to be got out. Something needs to be said. And obviously, I wasn't really gonna. I was gonna wait till we got 1,000 signatures to be able to, really pursue it and push it. So if anybody else out there watching right now, try to push it as much as possible.
The
But
link's in my bio, so you can still sign the petition. It's still open.
there we
Yeah.
go. There we go. So like I just felt that the kids need something, and not even as the kids, but everybody in general that needs to be active. I think it's very important to be in the gym right now.
I agree. I agree. It's a different feeling once you've done some physical activity of running and just get that anger wherever it is away from Fortnite and into the gym, something.
You're right. You're
So,
100% right.
so they can get because for us, especially when they were doing homeschooling online, it's like you're consistently digital, and then once you're done, then you go play, and then you're watching TV. So there wasn't that, and you're being told stay inside, stay inside. So it was hard, and I agree that
I have to commend you and all parents that are taking care of their kids during this homeschooling stuff, because honestly I don't have kids, but my gosh, some of the stories that I've heard, good for you guys. Like
yeah. You know what
I
it's called? What do you call it? Pivot. You just pivot and you go with the flow. And in some ways, I think earlier today I was talking to someone. It's like I kind of appreciate it because I'm seeing them grow now instead of having them, you know, drop them off at school, pick them up for game, pick them for practice, go, and it was just always like travel. It felt like roommates, but now you
Fair
get
enough.
to see them grow and develop, which is, I guess, one of the benefits of this lockdown. But then it gets to a point that okay, I still want to go back to my regular activities, not
Right.
as strenuous, but a little bit still regular process to make sure that we are all consistent and keeping active, especially in with all that's going on outside. I think the biggest part is going to be getting them back and being physically
Yeah.
healthy and active. And from your side, since you just started back into the gym, have you seen any changes or in terms of physical changes or emotional changes from these your students and your athletes that you feel that it's a big impact and you have to start sort of step back to get them back to where they were before pre-lockdown?
Emotional, I see a lot more appreciative. I find them, in terms of being on the court, they're a lot more appreciative of, being on the court and hearing their shoes squeak and seeing all that. But in terms of a physical aspect, a huge difference. Where we were at 2 months ago, it almost felt like we did 3 months from October till no, December for nothing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
To be able to go back to where we are now, and a lot of kids came back out of shape, and their jumper's not there anymore, their handle's not there anymore, their foot speed's not there anymore. It's almost
yeah.
like I'm teaching fundamentals to, I coach a high school kid, so a lot of it feels like I'm reteaching grade five, sixes, and sevens all over again,
Wow,
right? Sometimes
wow.
not fully, but it's like, what? Like, what did I get myself into? Right? So at the same time too, you expect that. You expect that going into after 2 months and not be on the court for 2 months, right? But it's a little
Well,
little little.
we didn't as adults, we feel the same way too. I mean, when we all locked down, we were running, jumping, doing exercise, boom, boom. I was baking, all of that crap stuff. But then after a while, you're like, hell, so we're gonna be here for a while.
Yeah.
Okay then. And then you start thinking, no, I need to get back into this. I need to get back into this. So it's
Yeah.
an up and down process. And I think from your side, you're kind of adjusting well in terms of trying to be respectful of how long they were stable or you know in one position, and now
We try.
slowly getting back into it. Especially the bones is not the same, body is not the same. And you sit down on the couch for an hour, you get up, you don't feel the same, right? I mean, it's hard, but hey, I don't know how it is for for the athletes, and also kudos to you guys in keeping them going. And do they have to wear masks though when they're running around now? Is that part of the requirement, or it's not needed?
No, it's a requirement. We make them at least have it on, at least on their chin, if anything, and we know it's hard for them to breathe. But
Yeah.
we just want everything to kind of go back to normal. Whatever we got to do to make sure that people can get back to normal, then that's all we really try to do.
Wow. Well, thank you so much. Um, this will end all of the interview questions. What I like to do is always towards the end, I make it a little bit more lighter and what I call rapid fire questions. And this is where you just get a little bit more loose. So you're done. There's no more tests going on here now. Just to find out on, let's say if there was a movie to be made about you, would you
Oh,
star yourself or would you want somebody else to star you? And if somebody did, who would it be?
it wouldn't. I would not star myself. No. My cousin is Seth Rogen, so I would get Seth Rogen to star me.
Oh, for
A
real?
lot. Yeah, Seth Rogen is my cousin, so not a lot
Okay.
of people know that,
Okay.
but Seth Rogen is my
Oh, that
cousin,
would
so I
be
would
very,
definitely, right. A lot of people say that I look like him as a younger version, so I was like, you know what, might as well let him go play me. That'd be an honor.
that would be good. Oh, that would, okay. Let me know when that hits the theaters. Right now, it's digital theaters, right?
Right, right,
This is
exactly.
right physical theater, so digital wise, we'll be fine. And what is the one superpower that if you had,
Ooh.
what would it be? I love my Marvel comics and everything too, so I always ask these questions.
And only one, right? Because there's a
Yeah,
couple I'm
one.
thinking of right now, but oof, oof. I think I think I'd want to be I'd want to have I'd want to be Spider-Man. You know, I think I'd want
Okay.
to have get make my own spider web and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm gonna lock in with that one. I have a few honorable mentions, but I'm just gonna lock in with Spider-Man. The Spidey senses.
Okay. All right. I'll call you Spidey Steven then going forward. How about that?
You know what? I might make a character out of that. I like it. I like it.
Yeah,
Spidey Steven.
yeah, I
I
like
like it.
that. I like that. It's
I like
good.
it.
Well, thank you so much because Instagram only gave us 1 hour before it cuts you off. So I don't want to have to keep talking and then cuts off. But I wanted to give
It's all
you
good.
opportunity to say anything that you might need from anyone watching. This is your chance to say what help or support you might need or where they can find you or anything like that. So shoot.
So right now I'm on three different accounts. Obviously RWI basketball, actually two different accounts. RWI basketball. We started the podcast Talk Your Exposure. Talk Your Exposure is a lot of good guests we have on there. We've already had Jack Armstrong. We're about to release the Eddie Robinson interview tomorrow, which is a former NBA player. We've had a lot of Division I players on it as well. So make sure you guys go check that out on Talk Your Exposure. And like, subscribe, comment on all that stuff on YouTube and Spotify and Apple Podcasts and all those good places to find your podcast. So
Yeah.
that's it. Oh, and the petition. If you still want to sign the petition, I know it's in your profile. So make
Yeah.
sure you guys go sign that.
I will take that as well too, and I'll let you go because I know you're pretty busy as well too, since you're always recording and all of that. I don't know how you manage. You say you have no kids, but you have more. Like your schedule is filled more so than anything else. But I appreciate you making the time today and giving us pretty good information to our Golden Mom community both here and across the U.S. and things that we can look for to make sure that we're all continuing to, as I call it, support, cheer, and always unite. Because when we're sports family, we're one, right? So
And
thank
thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it, and hopefully I did well.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully we can get to the court and you can hear me yell and scream and tell me to shut up or something. I don't know.
It's all good. It's all
Right.
good.
I'll get back to this. Like it's crazy. But
I'm
yeah.
I'm I'm ready to get back on the court as well. So whenever that happens, I'll definitely be excited to hear you yell and scream and cheer and do whatever you got to do to get excited because it's well needed.
Yeah, we need that. I don't know if we have to cheer from a mask, but whatever it is, you'll hear me. That's for sure.
That I like to hear that. I like to.
Uh, Thank you so
All
much, Spider Steven.
right. No problem. I thank you for your time. Thank you.
All right. Have a good evening.
You too.
Bye.